They're known as Melchior and Caspar, or perhaps Gaspar, and Balthazar. Queen Helena, the mother of Constantine, thought she found the bones of the three wise men, and she removed them from the location where she thought they were and took them to the great cathedral at Hagia Sophia in Constantinople, now in Istanbul. But at some point they were moved from there and carried to some place in Italy, and there in the recesses of my mind, some place, I ought to be able to tell you where they are today, but for some reason or other, we'll just call it old age. I can't pull it out of my recesses of my memory. I do know that Marco Polo, in one of his writings when he was talking about his travels, talks about finding the graves in Persia of the three wise men. But the question is, who were they really? How many of them really were there? After all, the scripture passage never says there were three wise men. Remember that. It only says there were wise men that came from the east. We assume there were three because we want to give each one of them a gift that they can give to the infant king. But what if there were 50 that gave gold, and 35 that gave frankincense, and 2 that gave myrrh? Could be. We have no idea whatsoever. What happened ultimately to these magi? Why did they just disappear from biblical history? All we have left seems to be myths. And yet I wonder if it's possible for us to paint a picture, or to take a picture, present a picture, if you will, of the Magi. Can we say anything definitive about them? And yet I believe we can, even in this time of skepticism. I believe that we can, if you will, fit together the pieces, the facts expressed in the biblical text. And then from those facts we can indeed find truths for the 21st century church. The first point I want to make, and I've got several along the way I want to make, and I'll get as many as I can, and then we'll just say, well, all right, he didn't finish them all, because we don't want to keep you beyond 3 o'clock this afternoon. But the first point I want to make to you is that, remember, these wise men that came from the east were aliens to the Jewish tradition. They were not familiar with the Jewish tradition. What was their tradition? We don't know. We know that they were followers of the heavens, followers of the stars. They could have been astronomers. They could have been astrologers. They may have very well have been followers of Zoroaster, one of the ancient faiths. What were they? We have no idea. But we do know that they were aliens in the Jewish tradition. They did not know the Jewish tradition. In fact, they followed the star, and the star led them to Jerusalem, the seat of the Jewish nation, the Jewish people. When they came there, they sought to find out where the child was to be born. They had an audience with Herod, the king, which says something about the status that they must have had. Herod himself really a non-Jew, he's from Idumea, did not know, so he called in the high priests, and they told him the passage of Scripture from Micah tells us where the child would be born, and that was in Bethlehem. These wise men were aliens to the Jewish tradition. Have you ever thought, though, how we are really aliens in the Christian tradition? Have you ever thought about how in the midst of our Christian faith, things just don't seem to be right? After all, we live in a nation that we expect to achieve. And we don't expect that we're just going to be given free gifts. And yet the gift of God almost seems to be alien to us. For the gift of God is a free gift. God's love to us seems to be something that is alien to who we are, to our tradition, for we expect to gain something, and yet the gift is free, given to us. What a wonderful thought that is, my friends, for New Year, as we start a new year, that God's gift has been given to all of us freely. What a wonderful thing that we can proclaim to the society in which we live. God's love is free. Yes, I think we can present a portrait of the church of today. The church is a church that proclaims to the world that God's gift of grace, of salvation, of love is a free gift. But more than that, I think we can also see that these wise men were called to go on this journey. They didn't just go on this journey because they wanted to make a trip. They were called, they saw that star in the sky. And whatever the star may have been, however it might have been, confluence of planets, whatever it might have been, it was a moment of revelation that called those wise men to come and find the infant king. Why are you here this worship service today? When I get through preaching, some of you will wonder. But why are you here today? Why have you become part of the Christian community? Could it very well be that you are here, that you have become part of this community because God's love has been revealed to you